You're going to love this video. We are going through our best values in Danny's most recent startup draft. This is a startup draft that he hosted with his community on flockfantasy.com. And if you want to get a part of the action, if you want to be able to go check out Danny's rankings, my rankings, our exclusive articles, videos, live streams, the whole 9 yards, flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK for 30% off any package. And yours truly will go through and make a podcast breaking down your Dynasty team with promo code FLOCK. But I think that should be it for this intro. Of course, you can find all of Danny's stuff in the description of this, such as his YouTube, Fantasy Stock Exchange, his Twitter. He's on flockfantasy.com. You know the whole 9 yards. But thank you again, Danny, for coming on. Super excited to show you this video. All right, let's go ahead and let's dive into our top 10 values in the most recent FSE Flock Dynasty startup. Man, I'm excited about this. We have a couple of your own picks on here, so you can flex on us. But I want to start it off with the 10th best value in this. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Kenneth Walker, 310. If we're going to be looking at Kenneth Walker here, in my mind, he is inside the top tier of Dynasty running backs for me. I'm ranking them as probably Bijan 1, but then after that, you have Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker. And I honestly think all three of those guys are in a similar range. We're looking at Kenneth Walker. In my mind, he was a phenomenal prospect coming out of school with a couple different traits. He was an elite athlete. He had the size to be a 3-down back. I mean, some people said he could catch the ball. I wasn't sold on it, but hell, he goes out as a rookie and he actually demonstrates that he can catch the ball at the next level. So I think Kenneth Walker's a 3-down workhorse running back on his rookie contract in an offense that's respectable. So, I mean, getting him at the 310, I personally really like it. Like, if we're seeing how many rookies went ahead of him here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks. He's equivalent to the 107 in this draft. And in reality, I think it should be a lot closer to like the 102, 103.
Yeah, no, I even as a running back hater, I have to admit that Kenneth Walker, second-year running back, showing out down the stretch to be a near, 19 points per game guy as soon as he took over that role after Rashad Penny suffered his lower body injury. And you mentioned in terms of the receiving involvement, 35 targets on the year in his rookie season, despite, like you kind of said, not really finding his way until about week 5, week 6 this year. I believe Arizona game in week 6 was the week that he truly took off. The talent is there. One of the best pure runners in the entire NFL. He showed out down the stretch. And in an offense with Seattle that showed up, that they can score points, that they can support the goal line role that Kenneth Walker has. I believe down the stretch, he was one of the more involved, took all of their goal line work down the stretch. Sign me up. Kenneth Walker, absolutely love it. 310, get him as your anchor running back. I don't like taking them early, but if you're going to get a 22-year-old running back that produced down the stretch, sign me up.
Awesome. Let's go over to your guy. We'll go 9th best value here.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones going at the 1206. You see similar type of archetype running backs, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb going a few rounds earlier. I just think he kind of represented the last of the older depreciating running backs that if you're in a win now, can still give you top 15 type of production. Yes, the situation in over there in Green Bay is going to look different with Aaron Rodgers out of town, but Aaron Jones is still clearly their best overall player on offense, was still one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL last year, and still provide you a top 15 edge at running back. Getting him here, 12th round, win now type of format, sign me up.
Awesome. I mean, I think that honestly, a lot of those same things carry over to my guy with Jamal Williams that you actually took at the 14-15 turn. With Jamal, there's no way in hell he repeats what he did last year. Like, if he was going to, it would be priced in and he would be a selection that's closer to the 7th, 8th round. But getting him here at the end of the 14th, the beginning of the 15th, even in a worse situation in New Orleans, the offense probably won't be as good. The offensive line's not great, but Alvin Kamara may see a suspension. Even if Kamara doesn't see a suspension, Jamal Williams is the perfect complement where he's going to be the guy first and second downs. He's in between the tackles grinder with some touchdown upside demonstrated this past season. So it's all about the price point that you're getting him at. And if you're looking at, you're bringing him on as what, your RB6 at literally no cost. I don't see how the pick turns out to be bad, because if he doesn't work out, who freaking cares? He goes right before Rondale Moore. Does anybody have any hope for Rondale Moore at this point?
Absolutely agree with everything you said. Sign me up for Jamal Williams in the 14th. The opportunity cost at that pick, I mean, we're looking at 3rd round rookie pick equity. We're talking about like early to mid 3rd round. And at that point, if I can get a James Conner-like ascension, being that main goal line back, kind of mentioned in the previous video when I talked about Rashid Shaheed that I do have high expectations for this Saints offense. Carr and Shaheed obviously being on my own team. So I just love the fit here. And you mentioned it, volatility of Kamara. Don't exactly know if he's going to get suspended or not. And I get it. It's a different coaching regime versus Sean Payton having Dennis Allen there. But we've seen Mark Ingram have success in this offense. We've seen other tertiary options, even when Kamara was at his peak, be top 20 level options in fantasy. So with Jamal Williams, every coaching staff trusts him, got the goal line work for Detroit last year. Think he can play that type of role for the Saints this year.
Awesome. Who do you have as your next guy?
Yeah, and my next player here is actually going to be at the 905 with Geno Smith. And I talked about it when you mentioned Kenneth Walker, that I think the Seahawks offense is a fringe top 10 level unit in the NFL. So getting a player who, by PFF metrics, by EPA metrics, was one of the top 12 level quarterbacks in the NFL last year, recently just signed his extension with the Seattle Seahawks, has DK Metcalf, has Tyler Lockett on that offense. He showed he has fantasy upside. And at that price point, at the 905, you're basically getting him for a rookie second round pick. And if you can get a quarterback 2 in fantasy, especially as a contending team, for the price equivalent of a rookie second round pick, I'm taking that trade any day of the week.
Yeah, no, I actually have someone that's very similar later on. I think that pocket of quarterbacks was such a good value that, I mean, I don't even want to rank him as our next guy. We're going to go 6th best here as Tony Pollard. I mean, Corey actually gets Tony Pollard at the 703 in this draft, and I'm not even a big Pollard guy. I mean, I'm assuming by the jerseys behind you that you like Tony Pollard. I mean, I have some context clues here, but I mean, if I'm looking at Pollard, this is a back that this next season could easily be a running back 1 in fantasy. It's the back at the same time, while he doesn't have the contract with a guaranteed money long term, you're not paying as if he does. You're not paying as if he is a Breece Hall with the rookie deal that you have to take in the 2nd, 3rd round. So there are definite red flags, and that Dallas may bring in some competition this next season. That's still in the range of outcomes. There's a red flag, and we don't really know what the situation is going to look like in 2024. But if we're looking at the talent, if we were looking at the immediate upside, and then the fact that he's going directly before Elijah Moore and Christian Kirk, I think that the upside is easily worth the price there.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at it, he was the PPR running back 8 last year on 240 combined opportunities, having an old fart of Zeke being in that backfield, getting a lot of those valuable goal line opportunities. Like, if this is Tony Pollard's backfield in 2023, we could be looking at a top 5 level redraft running back, getting some of those goal line opportunities that Zeke absorbed last year. Yes, they're probably going to bring in some type of competition, maybe a 2nd or 3rd round flyer to add to the backfield. That's more of a long-term concern. If you're talking about straight 2023, where are you going to rank Tony Pollard, assuming that he's fully healthy coming off of that broken leg he suffered against the Niners? Almost exclusively, he's going to be a top 25 overall pick in redraft and be as a top 8 overall running back on a lot of people's boards. So getting him here at the 703 in this startup, again, a little bit of a running back wary type of room, but even if that, the upside is through the roof. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a guy who's a 4th or 5th round startup pick, proving himself to be that legit running back 1 this upcoming year for the Cowboys.
Awesome. Well, let's go over to your next guy. Is this number 5 here? We're halfway through.
Yep. And I got Christian Watson going at the 506 here. Anytime I can get an uber athletic, young, talented 21-year-old wide or 23-year-old wide receiver coming off of as impressive of a season he did last year, sign me up. I get it. There's some concerns. People didn't really like Christian Watson going into last year. He was a guy that fell in rookie drafts. I wasn't even the biggest fan of him. But when I saw the level of involvement he was able to command down the stretch and what he was able to do on said involvement, that gets me excited. And anytime you can get a receiver with that level of upside, we're talking about top 15 level upside in redraft this year at 23 years old, I'm all for it. At the 506, especially in a wide receiver heavy room, I think that was an absolute steal.
Definitely. I mean, going back to what you were saying in terms of this being a wide receiver heavy room, 506, I think this is honestly about where Christian Watson should go in most startups. But if you were looking at it in comparison to the other wide receivers and where they went, I actually had Christian Watson on my list before we recorded here. And the reason is I mean, I really like Jahan Dotson, but should they be going 1 pick apart? Probably not. I mean, Jamison Williams in the same round, easily give me Christian Watson. I mean, you have Brandon Ayuk just like 6 picks later. And in my mind, the difference between Christian Watson and Brandon Ayuk should be multiple rounds. Definitely not just 6 picks. So if you're looking at it in the context of this being a wide receiver heavy draft, I'm all in on Christian Watson at this price point. But going back to what you were talking about with Geno Smith in the middle of the 9th round, The fourth best value in this draft in my mind was actually Derek Carr, 906. I mean, this is yet again someone that you take. I don't want to go through and just continue to highlight your own picks here. So this will be the last one, okay? This will be the last guy we're talking about. But very similar to what you were talking about with Geno Smith. If you're looking at the job security you have with Derek Carr going forward, I mean, the man signs a contract where he's pretty much the guaranteed start of the next 2 seasons, right? So if you're getting a guaranteed starting quarterback over the next 2 years in the middle of the 9th round, who has a phenomenal wide receiver in Chris Olave, later on, you were able to go through, you're able to kind of make that one consolidated bet on the New Orleans Saints offense with the Shaheed and Jamal Williams selections. I mean, I really like the pick in the 906, and I'm not even a fan of Derek Carr.
That's where it came to me, right? I didn't really need to go up and get a quarterback 3 at the 906, having Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, but I'm getting, like you kind of said, the job security there, ascending offense, which we both believe here with the New Orleans Saints. At the 906, in a quarterback-heavy type of room, Jared Goff going at the 605, Kenny Pickett going at the 505, Russ and Aaron Rodgers going at the end of the 7th. I don't really view Derek Carr as being that much after those guys. So getting, a round and a half, 2 rounds of value on a guy like Derek Carr, all for that type of value.
Awesome. Well, is this your second to last guy or your last guy here?
Second to last guy at the 702 was able to snag George Kittle in a 0.5 tight end premium, full PPR to wide receivers, 1.52 tight ends. And I'm just getting a positional advantage for a team that I expect to be win now. Coming off the board after Pat Freiermuth, TJ Hawkinson, right in the vicinity of Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert, again, was another valuable pick. So I think both of them could be considered for this selection. But when I'm looking at it, and I have Lamar Jackson, I have Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, we'll get into in a second, Devontae Adams. I have difference makers all over my lineup. If I can get a tight end that has legitimate fantasy playoff, 25 PPR, 30 PPR level ceiling in the 7th round, I'm taking it anytime I get the chance. George Kittle, we know, one of the best overall tight ends in the NFL from a talent perspective. You can make the argument about the volume, what's exactly going to look like with Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, whoever the starter there is. But all we know is George Kittle can command targets, and George Kittle is an elite talent at a scarce position. So 702, sign me up.
Man, I have something that is similar here in that I'm looking at Dallas Goedert, in my mind, being the second best value in this draft. With Dallas Goedert, if I'm heading over to flockfantasy.com, you will see that he's ranked as my 54th overall player. And that's in Superflex. We're looking at the Superflex rankings there, not one quarterback. And here he goes 706. I could name 20 players possibly that go before Dallas Goedert here. I'd rather have Goedert over. I mean, getting this kind of value, especially if we're considering some of the other tight ends with where they went. I mean, Pat Freiermuth, 604. Give me Goedert over Freiermuth, and you're getting an entire round discount. I mean, if we're looking at who goes immediately after him, Greg Dulcich going in the 8th round, these guys should be separated in my mind by 40, 50 picks. Dallas Goedert's increased his receiving yards on a per game basis every single season of his NFL career. Dallas Goedert's now stepping into age 28, 29, in my mind, kind of the prime sweet spot for those tight ends. So 706 is just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it with George Kittle. I also thought Dallas Goedert was a great value. Attached, obviously, to that Philadelphia Eagles offense, hopefully for my case in this with Jalen Hurts, is going to continue being that high elite level, top 3, top 5 level offense in the league. Dallas Goedert showed that he could be a legit difference maker at tight end when he was healthy last year. I believe suffered the shoulder injury against the Washington Commanders, was really affected down the stretch. But before that, you saw a consistent, athletic, involved tight end in one of the best offenses in the league. So if you didn't take Dallas Goedert, I would have taken him as well. So I didn't have to hype up my own team even more. But George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, I think both of those tight ends in the 7th round are screaming values.
Awesome. Well, let's hear it. Who do you think the best value in this draft was?
Again, I hate talking about my team, but I really, really love what I was able to do in this draft. I'm a running back hater, like I already said. But Christian McCaffrey in the middle of the 4th round at the 405, I get it. He's a 26 going on 27-year-old running back. He's had volatility with his injury issues. We saw Elijah Mitchell kind of crack into his workload with the Niners when he was healthy last year. But this is a bona fide top 5 overall redraft pick in the middle of the 4th round for a team I'm trying to win the championship with. if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, even on a less than, let's say 85% of his Carolina workload next year with the 49ers, we already know that's going to be a way better situation. We already know that's going to be on a team that's going to win 12, 13 plus games in the regular season. We already know that his involvement inside the 5 for that team is going to be absolutely monstrous on an offense that may put up 25 plus points per game. Christian McCaffrey, elite positional advantage, receiving option out of the wazoo. I just think that was a home run.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just got a Dynasty startup going with Nick from BDGE, and he took CMC at 303, which in my mind, CMC late second, early third is kind of like whatever.
Great.
I'm not all about it. But once he falls to the middle of the 4th round, then that kind of goes out the window. Yeah, he has some red flags, but it's baked into that price, and he has all the upside of the world. Middle of the 4th round, I think you have to take him there.
Yep. No, fully agree. And I was able to, make a pretty God squad. I mean, we're talking about basically half of these picks being my own.
Yeah, well, definitely. If y'all want to check out Danny's full breakdown of his team, we actually just made a video about that yesterday. So you can go through, you can find the links somewhere. You can find it on this channel. And also you can find the links to everything Danny has going on with the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Obviously, flogfantasy.com, his Twitter, Discord, the whole 9 yards in the description. But thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me on.